Okay, so welcome to our first class. We're looking at for managerial finance, right? We're going to look at first what is the definition of financial management. Okay, I like to say financial management is just the planning, organizing, and controlling of financial resources. Planning, organizing, and controlling of financial resources. All right. Some financial resources, money is the best example of a financial resource. Okay. Assets are example of financial resources. Debt is also a financial resource. All right. Yes. Now here are some examples. Here are some other definitions of financial management. Okay. The acquisition, management, and financing of resources for firms by means of money with due regard for prices in external economic markets. Okay, very long definition. Okay, here's another one. Financial management deals with the proper acquisition of cash and the efficient allocation of that cash within the company. I would also say this is a good definition. Okay, yes. Then there's also another one. Financial management is a decision making process concerned with planning, acquisition, and utilization of funds in a way that achieves the firm's desired goals. Okay. Yes. So here, colleagues, whenever you hear the word management is all about planning, organizing, and controlling. All right. So that you can make decisions. All right. So once you add the financial, now you're putting in the monetary things. All right. Yes. So that's basically the definition of financial management. Okay. Any of those definitions are okay. 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 Next, we're going to look at the forms of business organizations. All right. You've got a sole proprietorship where the business is owned and controlled by one person. Okay. Yes. This person is in charge of all the decision making. Okay. And running the business. Okay. Sometimes the sole trader can be even just a group of one head, then people who then working under them. For example, like how we see electricians, plumbers, bricklayers. Okay, those are sole traders. Okay, yes, business owned and operated by one person. I believe if you took law, okay, you heard about this unlimited liability. All right, unlimited liability means any mistakes or anything that the business owes, the owner is also liable for those. So people can even come and take your personal assets because you and the business are not separate. All right. Unlike the other forms of business organizations where the owner and the business are separate, as a sole trader, you as the owner are the business. So, for example, let's say you are an electrician, you go and do the wiring for someone's house. You wire it wrongly, you cause the house to get fire. Yeah. You'll be liable for that. And those people can come and take your personal belongings at your house to compensate them. Okay, because you and the business are one entity. So whatever the business does, you as the owner will also be responsible for it. Okay, this is the major disadvantage of being a sole trader. The fact that your personal belongings, excuse me, can be put at risk. That's one of the major disadvantages. Okay. Some advantages of a sole trader, you keep all the profits. Okay. You can decide when to go for work, when not to go for work. Okay. Decision making is quick because it's you alone. You don't need to consult. Okay. And startup capital is usually low for this. Okay. The next are partnerships. Okay. which consists of two or more owners doing business together. All right. So with a partnership, you are many. All right. Yes. So the advantage of a partnership is that since you are many, well, you can be two, you can be three, or four. All of you can pool resources. Okay. The more resources that you can pool, as compared to a sole trader. A sole trader, you're raising capital and resources can be a bit difficult because you are alone. Okay. But with a partnership, you can be a group of you and you can raise resources together. All right. Also, you can also divide tasks, division of labor. Okay. You can divide tasks amongst each other. All right. Yes. So that's how a partnership basically runs. Okay. So also partnerships also have unlimited liability. Okay. And the worst case, the bad thing about this is this: if one partner jeopardizes the business, okay, it means all of your partners are also going to be liable for that. Okay. So let's say if you're a partnership, you're the four of you, one partner tries to do a contract behind your back, the contract, something happens, and now they are owing money for that contract. Maybe something goes missing, or they failed to complete the contract. It's not only that partner who's going to be in trouble. All of you as a group will be in trouble. Okay. What the people say is, first, you as a collective partnership, compensate the person who has lost their money. Then you can now deal with that partner who went behind people's backs and did a deal behind them. Okay. Yes. So that's one of the disadvantages. Also, decision making can be a slow process, and also conflicts of interests. Okay, one partner would want the business to go one way, the other partner might want the business to go another way. So you find those conflicts of interests also come in. That's why it's important for all partnerships to have what you call this, a partnership deed. Okay, this partnership deed, okay, it will give every partner's roles and obligations, how you split profits as the partners, what charges will be given to partners if partners want to withdraw money from the business, right? How to, let's say, how to get rid of, how the partner wants to stop the process of how to do that is going to be in there. So basically, think of this as the constitution of the partnership. It is very important because without this partnership deed, there's a lot of room for assumptions, and this brings conflicts. Okay. Next, you have private limited companies. All right. Yes. So here, this is where now the thing of limited liability comes in. Owners of a private limited company are the business is separate from the owners. Okay. And this private limited company becomes an entity on itself. Okay. Basically, the business can engage in business activities, and if anything should go wrong, all that you're going to lose is the money that you put in the business. No one is going to come for your personal assets. Okay. All that you're losing is just all the capital you put in the business. Should the business make a mistake or make an error somewhere, and now people have to be paid, have to be compensated. All right. You as the owners, you are protected. Okay. Yes. All right. Yes. So some of the advantages of a private limited company. All right. Here, at least you can go to the banks, you can get loans. All right. They are more reputable. All right. This is a sole trade and partnerships. A sole trader, if you go to the bank, it will be hard for you to get a loan. Even partnerships, okay, it can be hard for you to get loans. But as if you come as a private limited company, okay, access to loans will be fair. Okay, yes. So, what shareholders have limited liability, another advantage. Okay, original owners are able to still keep control of the business by restricting share distribution. Yes, so in a private limited company, each of you is going to have shares, okay, which represent your ownership in that company. Okay. Now, unlike a public limited company where shares can be sold to the general public, here these shares in a private limited company cannot be sold to the general public. The only time they can be sold is if you agree with the other shareholders that you want to sell your shares to somebody and they are aware of that. Okay. Then we've got public limited companies. And these are the ones we'll be dealing with mostly in managerial finance. All right. Yes. These are the companies that can sell shares now to the public. Amongst the business organizations, this is the one that can raise the most capital. Okay. Because they can raise capital by selling shares. Even banks, they can go to the banks, get loans. They're eligible to apply for loans. Okay. Because the banks are more likely to trust a company than individuals. Okay. Yes. So yes, with public limited companies, yes, they sell shares to the general public. All right. Also, like a private limited company, also this one you have a board of directors. This board of directors is selected by the shareholders. Okay. The board of directors are in charge of giving direction for the company. Okay. Yes. Okay. Now, with public limited companies, these are the ones where you have to make your financial statements public. Okay. Unlike private limited companies, partnerships, and sole traders, you'll never see their financial statements. But with a public limited company, usually if you check on the newspaper, you're going to see a financial statement to show you how well that company is doing. Okay, so this is only good if you're making profits. Okay, as the years are passing, you're making profits. It's good to show off on, not really show off, but it's good to display that on the newspapers there and public. But when you make losses, that's where problems come in, especially if you're making consecutive losses. 3 years straight, you've been making losses. You find it won't signal a good reputation to your company. Okay. Yes. And you obviously hear this word, a prospectus. This prospectus is issued to advertise to customers to buy shares. Okay, when the public limited company is now offering shares, they'll issue out this prospectus. So people can buy shares. As the general public, we can buy shares in the company. When we buy shares, remember, we become also part owners for that company. And for becoming a part owner of that company, you receive dividends. Okay, dividends. Yes, this is what you receive whenever the company it's a share of the profits of the company. Okay, because once the company makes profits, it has to give some to the shareholders. Now, you need to remember there are two types of shareholders: ordinary shareholders and preference shareholders. Ordinary shareholders are the ones who have just got voting rights. They're the ones who vote for the board of directors. Okay. Yes. And they're not entitled to shares every year. Sometimes you might not, I mean, dividends. Sometimes they might not collect dividends in a certain year. Maybe a year pass, they don't get dividends. Next year, they might get dividends. And the dividends can change for these ordinary shareholders, depending on how much the company is willing to give up. Okay. So ordinary shareholders have voting rights. Okay. They're not entitled to dividends every year, and their dividends can also change. They can grow, they can drop. Now, the other type of shareholder is a preference shareholder. A preference shareholder, these do not have voting rights, but they're entitled to a fixed dividend, meaning each year they need to be paid their dividend. And if they're not paid that year, that dividend, it means the next year that comes, the company will be owing you for their previous year's dividends, which were not paid. Okay. Yes. So these are the companies we'll be dealing mostly with here in managerial finance, public limited companies. All right. So that ends unit one of